Okay, three,
You start.
3, 2, 1, action.
Hi guys, we had a very thorough meeting with Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Brandon Lewis, this afternoon. We spent over an hour in his office with him, and we did an excellent. We basically put our point across very, very strongly that we weren't happy with the fact that this thing's getting kicked down the road yet again. We made it very, very clear that we expect to see this paper come to Parliament in the next few months, but we've got no guarantees that that's going to happen. We're really concerned about this, and we've got hold of this, and we're not going to let it go, no matter how long it takes.
Yes, we discussed the promises he made last autumn when we went in, and the timeline that he said this legislation would kick in. By our calculations, it should have been through Parliament, going through Parliament now to its final stages, and should have had royal assent around about Easter time. But of course, it hasn't even started yet. Now, we discussed many aspects on what was coming and some of the difficulties that he said they were encompassing. Now, he is going to have a further meeting with us in the very near future, I expect it in the next month, to explain some of the intricacies that will form part of the bill, and which will give the protection for veterans. But until we actually see that and hear that and understand it, as far as I'm concerned, he's no better than anybody else. Promises are promises. We only deal with action. If that bill doesn't reach the Parliament and the second reading stays where he presented the Parliament, then he's no better than anybody else.
We actually made it clear that there's a general election in 2 years' time, and we want to be able to go to the 3 million former servicemen in the United Kingdom and say that Boris Johnson kept his promises.
Paul, can I ask?
That's what we want to say, but we could also be in a position of telling everybody that Boris Johnson didn't keep his promises to stop the vexatious prosecution of British soldiers from Northern Ireland.
Paul, can I ask what the excuses why it didn't go through?
Well,
or why he hasn't pushed it through?
Well, it's basically legalities, and it's they're changing they say they're changing the command paper a little bit to take into effect that if somebody's, just for instance, if somebody's made a statement in the past that's been investigated, then that's engaging with this new tribunal, which will look at legacy cases, and it'll take the criminal and civil element away from it, exactly what the command paper does. However, we haven't really seen much of that, and those are the things that they say they're sticking and trying to settle down. But we'll find out a bit more about that in our next meeting, hopefully.
To be fair, shouldn't he have known about that from the beginning?
Exactly the point I made to him. I did quite forcibly made, you guys must have known the hurdles that you would have to jump through before you presented that paper, and if you didn't, then you're negligent.
That's exactly the words.
Robin, do you feel encouraged about the meeting today, or disillusioned still?
I'm not disillusioned, but I'm not encouraged either. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that the paper didn't get read in Parliament, which was implied at the end of last year and then in January, and now it's getting kicked down the road again. And so we're not happy with the situation. It's an ongoing process. I said to the Secretary of State, I said, I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not going to let go of it no matter what happens. Now, we actually believe that what he says he means, and he's trying to do it. But in the meantime, our members, the veterans, are getting dragged through the courts. They're aging people, they're dying while this process is going on, and it's still continuing, and we can't see an end to it. We hoped last year that we'd see an end to it by now. We haven't. So disappointed would be my best description of what's going on.
Because as you're both aware, we've got Dave Holden coming up to his court case in Belfast shortly, so there's going to be no respite.
We talked about Dave Holden in actual fact, and also Soldier K, who died, and Dennis died. You know, people are dying whilst they're barricading and fiddling about with legislation. We did make the point that they can make legislation for Ukraine overnight. They can make legislation for, but they keep going. But it's a complex issue. We say it's not a complex issue. It's straightforward. Protect your bloody veterans. And we again made the point that the terrorists have already got immunity from prosecution. They're never going to be prosecuted. So fiddling about with the Irish and having to give in to the Republican agenda is nonsense. You know, protect your servicemen first.
Did he have much to say about us losing Dennis?
He'd expressed his sadness over that in the past, so we didn't labour that point very much, although it was mentioned yet again as one example of what's going to happen to other veterans in the near future as well. Because I said to him, eventually this will come to a stop because we'll all be dead, and that's it.
One thing I did mention to him is just towards the end, he says, you know, the things that will help us, the veterans, is you put a halt, a stop to everything legacy that's going on at the moment. Put an absolute hold on it until your legislation is ready. So the justice system in Northern Ireland
has to stop.
But he said they can't do that. There's all sorts of legal reasons beyond him, which I guess it's human rights. They'll get challenged. I say, put a stop with it. Let the challenges go on. Let them take it to that. That takes ages to get through the Supreme Court. In the meantime, everything's stopping, but they're not going.
Paul, Robin's mentioned about hitting the people that don't carry out their promises at election time. Have you made it clear to the Minister that as veterans, we're up in our game now when it comes to protesting and demonstrating?
We made that absolutely clear. I said we want to be able to get to the next election saying that Boris Johnson kept his promises, but equally so, the 3 million former servicemen will hear from us exactly the opposite if they don't. If he doesn't keep his promises, we'll be moving the veterans movement behind the idea that they didn't keep their promises, they didn't stop the prosecution of Northern Ireland veterans, and we want to be saying the former, not the latter. But we made it absolutely clear that as far as we're concerned, you know, we'll move the whole movement behind against this government unless they do what they said they were going to do.
We've told them that demonstrations will be increasing and they won't be marching up and down. We've told them that in the past. We told them last year. I mentioned it to his permanent secretary just on our way out, just to let him know that there's demonstrations going on in April.
Did they seem concerned about that at all?
They understand the feelings that's going through the veteran community.
Yeah, I mean, it was close to. I mean, although it was all very reasonable and polite, it was also quite fierce and frank as well. There was nothing left unsaid. You know, it was almost table thumping, but not quite. We made everything we felt absolutely clear. We made our disappointment in the process absolutely clear, and we weren't happy with the fact that it's getting kicked down the road yet again.
So you've come out of the meeting today with what more knowledge that have you got before you went in?
Well, quite frankly, nothing, except that they're going to try to explain, but again, you know, talk is cheap. The only thing that will satisfy us is when he stands at the dispatch box and presents the bill.
Do you think this meeting was more about satisfying us and calming us down?
No, I don't think so.
I think there was a genuine desire to keep us involved and engaged. And we appreciate the fact that they asked us to come. We sat down for over an hour when we only had 30 minutes booked, and we did have plenty of time to elaborate and expand on our feelings and our problems. So we appreciate that, but we're not happy with the way it's going at the moment.
At least we're involved. You know, the veterans representatives are involved, and he did say that he wants to get us in the next few weeks to go into some of the minutiae of what they're trying to do, what's holding it up, which will make it work.
I think it's very important to stay involved in this, and I think you're quite right in attending the meeting today to see what he had to say. You know, as part of the Northern Ireland Veterans Movement, we've got to stay involved in this, irrespective of what incoming words that we're getting from elsewhere. We've got to stay involved and lead the way on this.
I would like to say one thing, right, to the guys out there that are going to watch this. Guys, don't sit back in your armchairs and let me and Robin talk to them. We need you guys to get out onto the streets when we call demonstrations, parade, to do things. Don't say, well, they're not going to do everything. Get your asses off your seats and come out. To all those that always attend, I say, well done, you guys. You're doing a damn good job. But for all the others, let's get you out. We need numbers on the streets.
And I just want to reiterate what Paul and Robin have both said. Our days of marching just up and down aimlessly are over. our protests and demonstrations will be targeted now, and they will be legal, peaceful and disruptive.
Always, always.
And please do turn up.
Yeah.
Please come along. It's important. It may not feel like it's important, but getting out there on the streets shows that we are all still behind this.
Yeah.
Even if it's for one day, get out there, come and join us, and enjoy the day, but make your protest.
Yeah.
Turn up, be on the ground, because boots on the ground has got a big visual impact and it counts.
Yeah, very much so.
And I'll just say to everybody, on the 11th of April, we're meeting in Trafalgar Square, as Paul and Robin are dressed now, suited and booted, medals and berries, to start our next process now of demonstrations with meaning and not just marching up and down. So please guys, turn up in suited and booted for a peaceful demonstration of where we go next.
Yeah. This will not be a marching up and down.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Those days
let's
are
remind
finished.
them after COVID that we're still here and we're not going away.
It's important that the Secretary of State know that we can put some power, which is you guys, behind us when we say we're coming out on the streets, that we're out on the streets.
Without you guys, we'll get nowhere with this.
Yeah.
You know, us 2 or 3 guys won't, you know, we can make a difference, but with everybody joining in, we can all make a difference and all take part and all be one veteran community.
One army.
One army.
Thanks guys, thanks for your efforts and thanks for coming down today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers, thank you.